You guys, I'm live. So I have chart lines and screen size, operation surface, as well as the point systems, locations. Now we all have to understand how this all works and travels. When you get to higher levels on the line line, the connections of your frequency line screens has to really understand the travel position of where you are with the atmospheres. Changing everything in position location is travel connections. It's important you understand that the center of communication in moon line is fast tracking its phase direction time sequence. It's putting higher levels of power to our line screens, putting you guys back in your original design. But before you get in position location, you have to go through your transistors and how to go transmit and receive, right? Understand the transponders, the transistors, and set location of transformation. Transmutation line in a setting. Okay, taking you guys out of, I'll set the like out, setting, putting you guys in frame position for equinox. This is the equinox into its original imprint of its own design center calculations, putting you guys back in your spiritual lines. Is directing panels and communication setting. All lines are has to go back in provision lines. 5 elements of space. Connection lines of the air. Okay, sets lines of communication settings and track lines. The location system where we are through all levels of locations. This is communication line interference to mainframes. The direct location of your settings, right? Now coming into water is the containment center. That's the triangulation high positions program. How to use surface location in the oceans. Communication of your settings and travel calculations. Getting communications or fire is about rebirth. Rebirth line calculation at Phoenix. Travels line, register time, position, location, operation, surface. And then we have the communication to the Earth. Mother Earth and triangulation high position programs has to come in 4 seasons back into 144 frequency. Let me say it again. 144 frequency Earth perception has to be in a 4-line square. Split it line of communication into a cyclical line communication, circulation rotations. See my hand? See how it moves very quick, right? See? It's powerful stuff, right? See, it's amazing when you really go really fast inside locations, right? So it's important you understand is you balance these things out, how to use your tractions. It goes to your transmitters and receivers. Now the transponders and the high calculation setting has to understand the resistance and set location of travel settings. This operates the system locations. See the light traction? See that? Look how powerful that is. Oh, there goes my hand. Right? See? It's knowing exactly what is happening with your travel mechanism, high centers and travel communications. So in response, the transponders and light calculation setting comes into its transistors, which is telecommunication, telegraphing, teleline settings, high calculation, high position code weighting, code traction, high position its operation surface. So it's all levels of computers. That's all it is. Nothing else, nothing more. But the position location has to be split in 4-line settings. Okay, northwest, south, and east. 4 seasons and 1 track line. So Mother Earth is coming back in her original design at face recognition time. Right? The second of the team lines back to 0 locations. So everything goes back to 0. Now this triangulates high positions of entrapments. Now the entrapments puts position. Okay. So it's understanding where you are in your point centers. You have to really understand how to get your geometric operation of designs back to its original imprints. Position location of its operation line settings. Okay, there's XT,000 lines with new formation location of grounds. But the original prints and communications, think of your solar graph screen as a phase direction of time. Now that position location has to operate in center into light travel. See, but it's incredible when you go with your hand, right? Amazing. You know, it's just, it becomes all finger point line directions, right? It moves this way, moves that way. So it can move a million line channels, right? See, it's an illusion, right? But see, that's what it is. That's all your body is, just an illusion, right? It's the inside that's travels. So to protect your system, you can't see it through modifications. See? How fast you go, right? But you're always going in the center operation of you, which is your universal line screen. So putting Mother Earth interactive communication near moon lines puts all calculation settings, the frequency of 144. You're in space anomalies and tractions. Okay, the operation circulation system. You have your calculation high interference. You got 3 lines of high positions, the grounds, powers, and the atmospheres. Now there's a magnetic high position of force line communication settings, a high position of travel. Then you got 4 line signatures, which is your earth, the airs, waters, and fires. You guys are coming back to your 5 elements of space and time. Okay, so it's understand how to use that inside, how to use the air, how to use the water, how to use the fire, how to use your earth. Okay, that's the true understanding when you come into the 4 seasons. Summer, spring, winter, and fall all have to come back in positions of 144 frequency. That's where your earth is supposed to be, instructions. Your space academies are at 144 instructions. Your anomaly systems at location operation system is at 144. It's tracked to its high position locations, 5 lines of measure, setting track lines of communication, 6 over pi, puts position of throw pattern, communication stream interference, and 7 line communication of bodies of water. Using the plasma energy in high position travel calculations, puts you in all levels of vortices and communications. Vortex of design line conditions. Okay. As you can see, my lines, high grid line and position locations is purple, right? Purple and blue, right? In track locations, right? Energized lines, throat recognition of timelines. That's where the positional coloration comes in. Scan positional location, operation surface locations. So start to see yourself more as a pixelation screen, because that's where I'll come back to, is a T receptor. Now, the triangulation high position of force communication is truly understand how to use your settings. Okay, so let's split the pie. Okay, get in that position locations. Okay, so locations, the pie. Oh, you can't see it, can you? See how bright it is? See? That's not from outside. That's from inside me. Look at it. It's glowing. Look how powerful it is. It glows right off the page. Right? See? I have to go up close to see it. See? You see it, right? Now you don't see it. Right? You see it. Now you don't see it. Now you understand Lucy. Right? That's what it is. Being everywhere all at once. Seconds, minutes, and hours is a location. This is a track location sending. Look how powerful it is to light. Can't see it, right? Until you see it, right? That's illusion. So the illusion is the outside that's protecting everything from inside connections. Okay. All right. So we split the anomalies in 4 track location. Okay. So it's my determination for allowing me, for you to understand what you see and what you don't see, and what you can see and what you will see. All right. So we got north communication east. Line conditions all levels. The south line communication centers, high track line southeast. Comes in the north line centers and south line rotation centers, triangulation, reset, position programs, over calculations. Okay. All right. So in direct panels, communications, we had 111 top line, and we go line communication to 111, side line communication 111, track location 111, positions of 4 track line conditions. Okay. I have to show you up close because it's traveling too fast. All right, so center communication line is your flywheel, indirect signal to its location, all right? Let's see how things travel. It's amazing, right? All right, so we got position location programs. Now this is where it comes in the transistors, transformations, transponders, and transistors in 4 track location of point centers, okay? Okay, so in that symbolism, we change the infinity 8. The infinity 8 sets lines of communication. Look how powerful this is in locations. Okay. Now, directing lines of communication line centers, position locations, 1 equals lines of 4, sets 4 lines of track lines of south and east, east and west, and north and south. Sets another diamond core line, shift lines, brings position location to program. That's at locations, right? So what it is, put in elemental charts, directing lines and high position location as square roots, and face recognition time settings and track location. Okay. Directing lines of communication lines, we go in position lines, okay, in a circulation program, and direct signal location of point centers. Okay. Very complicated stuff, right? So you see the 2 track anomalies, right? Right there in point centers and track locations. All right. Mechanism high force, we had security line screens. 2 lines of track lines, equal line communication, space in between. Okay, now this is where it comes into a box center. we use a theta diffuser. Now, theta diffuser sets lines of track lines and 3 set location lines in position to its operation. Okay, see right there, set position. 3 lines of 4 and 5 line position. Okay. Now, in track location line centers, we set up an energetic dome center. This is a location grid that sets position to its operation surface. This rectangle point center line can issue 4-point lines of clocking: 024, 048, 072, and 0144. Okay. So it's important to understand how this is all put together through tractions. Then we bring in the sun and the moon, okay, in phase direction time sequence, okay. So it's important you understand how this is all set up, locations of theta diffusers, directing lines of communication, okay. See how it communicates laser lines up and down? See that? See line signature goes up and down line conditions, okay. Okay, so in modification screens, we open up the calculation settings. So 111 equals line calculations of 112 equals lines calculation of 113 and equal lines communication of 114 sets line condition of 0 travel. Okay, it's complicated, right? In case you can't, I have to do it, show you up close so you know exactly what's going on in travels. So mechanism of high force and travel works on position locations, all levels. Bracket communication centers of 3 tracks and 2 line positions. Okay. Now, getting that communication line centers, all of us are ground settings. 0 communication, 0 operation center. And set location. Okay. So it's knowing how to set the north, east, west, and south. All right. North, east, west, and south. What does that spell? News. All right. Center correlation lines and high position locations in the line connection at all levels constitute sys lines, bracket communication center to travel, and direct signals. Okay. North, east, west, and south. All right. Triangulate high position locations in one line centers, point systems of track, point systems of track, and point systems of track, and point system line connection high centers, high position is operation. Okay. So we put a triangulation line connections and line connections side positions, all levels. Triangulation reset position programs and set locations. Okay. Now, directing communications, we go in centers. Okay. This is where we balance out the communication of flywheels. Okay. Into northwest, south, and east, northeast, west, and south. Directing lines communications going direct and redirect center locations of panels and force locations. Okay. Now, directing lines of communications, we cross the stream settings. 1 position of 2 and 3 positions location center. Okay. Directing communication crosses line setting, high position to its operation. Okay. So it's important you understand how it comes into all levels of travel settings. Okay. It's about understanding how to put everything back in formation locations to its earth and calculation to its position of its operation surface and ground set location. Okay, that my question. Yeah, space rising. Okay, now there's a lot of signature streams coming in position on the programs. Okay, so 1 signature path, 2 line division, and 3 line connections in a 4 triangulation. You can't see it, can you? I'm just showing you how powerful light is when you can't see it, right? You can't see it because it's traveling, right? So you have to bring it up close. Okay. So in that line connection, we cross the stream, direct lines, high position locations, right? Triangulation lines of north, east, west, and south. Okay. Reposition lines equal in between. Okay, so equal line calculation setting. Theta and line communication. Okay. Now we surface lines of stream lines in 2 lines in 3 track locations. Okay. So it has to recognize the platforms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 position locations. Okay. It gets complicated, guys, because you have to understand how to use the triangulation reset position programs. Mother Earth is reconstructing her design lines of where it's supposed to be in traction. right? Directing lines of communication, so levels. Now, high calculation lines, high positions programs. Okay, this is where it comes into Stargate line screen and direct signal. Modification lines into face recognition, time sequence, and all position programs and set locations. Okay, see the face? Okay. Now, point centers, position locations of 1, 2, 3 set locations coming in traction. Okay. Direct communication lines, while set position is operation. Okay. Now that's done. Security panels and settings and all levels of operation. Okay. Very complicated stuff. So we triangulate the threes, threes, and threes. Okay. Position location 3 lines. Okay. In a diamond course, setting line position its operation set locations. Now, we set position line calculations of 3 lines equal to lines of 1, 1, 1, location lines of 1, 1, 2, sets locations, track lines, 1 here, 1 position here, 1 position across here, and 1 line calculation settings in north line, wind, and set locations, all right? Track to its communications in 1, 1, 2, sets lines of high calculation in a line position of 3 lines of waves and set location, okay? Now, we set sails. It reprovisions the cycles of high calculation. Oh, look at that, it disappeared. Gotta do it again. You got to see it. Okay. Now, seeing the surface line calculation center comes in position of center calculations. Okay, and all position line connections of face recognition. Okay. Point system of a track, we equaline the communications of 1, 1, 3. Now, 1, 1, 3 sets lines of communications, 1 way and the opposite way. 2 line tracks, 3 line travels, 4 lines, position 5 line settings, 6 position lines, 7 locations, and 8 over pi indirect signal. Okay. Then we align communications in line calculation setting, the 1, 1, 4. Okay, summer, spring, winter, fall. Fall lines is communication in new ground settings and crop circle location system of center operation. Okay. Done by equation. All right, so in sequence communication line settings, the face direction time center is going through line calculations. So we go through nano, okay, equal lines of compute system, sets lines in program, sets lines of perception, sets lines in pi, this allocation. You can't see it, can you? See? You can't see it, but it's there, right? It's there when it's needed. You can't see it because it's going too fast, but it's there when you need it. Let me say that again. That's what's happening with your thoughts, right? So when you travel through them, you see them, but you have to slow down your space. You understand the nanos, the communications, the programs of the pi, or anything, the perception locations. But if you can't see them because they're going too fast and travel. So for you to see them is to slow down your space. Okay, that's what you have to understand. All right, so calculation position of point centers are 2 tractions. Okay, now getting position lines, triangulation positions of program settings, and triangulation reset position of all calculations, and pi generation circles in line settings. Set position of 2 in line connections over 3 line direct signals and nanoseconds in line center and position with operation. See? Okay, it's complicated stuff. All right, so we had the console communication setting. Remember, guys, it's all face recognition that Mother Earth is coming into and track locations, right? It's redirecting panels, face recognition, all calculation in its program. Okay, Mother Earth. Okay, so she triangulates 3 lines of communication in face recognition time settings. Okay, and ground centers of operations surface of face recognition. 4 track locations, right? Position locations, guys. Okay, where it comes into the earth, air, water, and fire. Okay. 4 track lines, position lines. She takes the 1, 1, 1, the 1, 1, 2, and position line calculations of 1, 1, 3, and line connections of 1, 1, 4. Equalized communication of face recognition of 4 lines of pi, direct location line system, 144. Equal line communications, back in compute system, line condition of 0 gravity calculation setting. Okay. So Her phase direction time sequence now is in line position of 111, 112, 113, 114, which means it's at 144 now. So that's 4 provisions over pi. Your space academy is at soul and direct signal. This is connected to the earth planes, the astral planes, and the soul planes, and the ethereal planes. Okay, so we're in the ethereal plane right now, which is the equinox. Now, the center calculation setting is 113 and 114. Summer, spring, winter, fall are now in a triangulation of point centers and high position location system in all calculation. Direct lines of communication. Okay. All right, so that's done. It's complicated, but complication is good because it easily lines its format to understand the direct signal to its location system, all through traction, right? All right, so point division line centers, box line rotation, 2 patterns, line positions over pi, 3 calculations, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, you can't see it, right? But it's amazing how it's glowing, right? You can't see it until you see it, okay? That's the magic, okay? So if you understand the car as it's going, it disappears, but it's still there, right? Until you need it, right? But for you to understand that, you got to slow down your acceleration of your mind. So when you slow down your space, you see it through traction. And I say, okay, 2's offline, 3's not connected, and 4 is off position, right? So 4 generation screens sets position, location, its operation. Adding the equation locations of pi. Okay. 3 track lines communication. Security measures set location. Okay. Now, in that line, we overcross this setting in set location, right? This reconstructing set location of the moon. Moon sets position to its operation, comes in line setting like this in set location. Okay. Line signals into figure 8 line communication. Center calculations to a setting. All right. Now, getting into direct signal is understanding how to ground this center position to its operation set locations. Okay. Now, really understand there's 2 platforms, right? 24 measure, 48 positions of frames, 72 computer line settings and high position instructions, and 144 crystal grid and set location. Center lines of communication, guys. Point systems of tracks and 3 centers. Okay. Now, so we get 3 lines of provision and 4 set location. Okay. Travel lines. Now, this is where it comes in all line communications of division, the center calculations. Okay. Knowing exactly what is going on with your moon. Okay. How it sets its tone, right? All right. So that's done. Right. So we're there now, right? 144 equals 5. Right? 5 provision cycles, 5 generation screens, and 5 positions operations surface. 5, 5, 5. Okay. Sets communication lines of 111. Sets communication lines of 112. Sets communication lines of 113. And track line connecting high interference. We have another line communications of 5 lines settings, 5 lines of 2, sets lines of 7, 7 over track, 7 centers line communication setting position operation system, 7 bounds communication centers of travel position to its operation. Okay, it's complicated stuff, right? And line calculation setting, 0 gravity, 1 ozone line rotation, sets 1 equals lines of 5th, underscore lines of 8, 8 lines of communication, 8, 8, 8 positions, 8, 8 positions split anomaly, space-time set their line communication of travel. Okay, very complicated stuff, but it's done through equation. All right, so we take the 5 centers, 5 tractions, and 5 locations of 3 settings. Very complicated, right? But you can't see it. I wanted to show you what you guys are up against when you can't see something on a screen, but it's traveling very, very fast. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there, because it's always been there. You know why? It's never left. It's never left. It's always been there. The equations, the formula has always been there. You've always existed. You've never left anywhere. The whole point of this, guys, is to really understand how to mind traveler line setting and frequency. Understand the communication of the existence. Understand the communication of its purpose. Understanding the communications of you in position travel. That's all this is to equation. Okay? I know it's holding, but I'm trying to get you guys into that location of what's going on with your provisions. All right, so center calculation of the sun and the moon, open signals in track locations, all levels of operation surface. Okay, now you got 7 lines of communication lines of east and west. This retriangulates point system to its setting. Okay, 7 communication lines, energetic set lines and high positions. 7 overline positions. Now we take the ozone lines and calculation of 1 lines. 1 equals lines 5th over 8th. 8 line communication line center, system line communication setting. 2 8 lines of track and 2 line position locations. Box line, triangulation. Triangulation, box line. Fibonacci, Fibonacci, and Fibonacci. 3 centers of communications in a box line rotation centers, rectangle, communication center, travel. Set position, travel, communications. Done by question, right? The energetic graph screens and set location of its capsule is now set at position locations, right? Setting line communication line centers are 2 patterns line rotation surface and triangulation. Okay, done by equation. All right. Very complicated, guys. All right. So repositioning your transistors, point system line centers, calculation high positions. Okay. Molecules design lines, factors over calculation of fields itself. Point systems, calculation high centers. Can't see it, can you? Until you see it. I'm just showing you what you guys are up against. See how it disappears? See? See how it goes away, but it's still there? Which means it's never left. It's always been there. But it's at a certain frequency as speed and acceleration and Mach and coloration and light. What is the light doing itself? Protecting its own system of value. Look at it glow in set locations. I can't see it, right? Until you see it. I want you to understand what you really are up against. Okay? All right, so we've got 3 track line connections, pointing position location centers. Point line connection centers, molecule structure design, cross line connections, all positioned to its operation. Center calculation high centers, you have to be in a point line rotation center of travel. 4 line signals, high position to its operation surface, back and track location. Okay, pointing graph calculation settings. Okay, so we add position of travel lines. This opens all signals in position location centers. Travel lines are point line centers and travel communications. All right, use the communication setting and all level height position of its operation. Triangulate, reposition the program settings, high position its locations. Directing lines of communications to be in a certain line of communication to point centers, guys, and all set location. Okay. All right. So the center calculation is the point line centers. There it is in interactions. All right. Okay. And here it is in set location. Okay. Okay. Mother Earth is reconstructing her communication screens, directing lines of panels and triangulation high positions programs, transistors over pi, transmutation line calculation setting, taking all communications back in center. Okay, 0 calculations. All right, so point track line 0, 0, but 0 lines of communication each triangulation box. Points to system set location of balance. Direct line calculation setting into spring, summer, winter, and fall. Fall communication center and travel calculation of point centers. Done by equation. Okay, it's very powerful how it comes in all settings and interactions. Right? All right, so we got 2 line signature streamlines, directing lines of communications, and graph line calculation settings. Okay. So the similar communication of 0 lines travels lines at 3 set locations of settings. 3 lines, signatures of 6, line connections, line centers of 9 in position travel. Done by equation. Okay, it's all set up. Okay, so point division line screens is really to understand how to use a point centers of travel. Okay, remember how you go through molecule structure line divisions? You go through an atom line, sense line communication, setting, travel communication. There's the atom. Oh, you can't see it. Do you see it, right? Here's the molecule. You know, 3-point centers of travel. Okay. Okay, so you get the atom lines of 2 tracks. Okay. Now 3 in provision and center calculations. Okay. Now, since 3, 6, 9 lines 1, 3, and 3 center line communication 0 equals lines of 144. Track line calculation setting 114 and track location. Done by equation. All right. The center indication of face lines directing 135-degree angle. So travel position operation surface. Okay. 5. 4 tracks, 5 provisions, instead of calculations, 40 lines, and 50 location centers. Equal locations for poles, operations, vision line cycle, transistors over pi, transmissions over calculations. Okay. Done by equation. Okay. Version locations. Look how far it is. You can't see it. We have 304 cores sitting. Okay. Now, directing calculation lines, we have an umbrella. Umbrella 1 position of track. 1 equals lines of 111. Okay. Now, the perfect location is summer. Now, center position of track is 112 is spring. Equals lines of calculation high position cross line 13. Okay. See, can't see it, can you? But it's there. It's never left. I want to understand, so you understand how to get into your travel. You've got to slow down your space, or you're not going to see anything but an illusion. Okay? But it's there for you to understand through its intelligence of its set locations. Okay, knowing how to travel through it through its formulas of a pi. Right? So the center communication lines of the season lines is split in anomalies of 4 track lines now. Okay, in position locations of pi. Okay, center calculations split the anomalies. Okay, so what are we at here? 3 calculation lines, 3, 6, and 9. Right. So 3, 6, 9, and we got 12 settings in bottom. Okay, now try to understand the 9 line centers. 9 equals lines of 3. 3, 3. 3 panels communications. 1, 2, 3 track lines. 3 lines of provision. Okay, that's the equation. Okay. Now, directing this communication to the sun comes in tractions. Okay, opens up communication lines of phase direction of time. Okay. All right. So in that point line center high interference, 6 and 9 line comes together in a center communication center of yin and yang, a process. At set locations. All right. See the figure 8? You see the figure 8? Okay. Well, that's a signal now. Modification center of travel. Figure 8, motion sensors, indirect signals with locations. Okay. Now, getting in that position line calculation setting, 0 gravity in a flywheel and an 8-line center. Okay. But you do it through a 24-line screen, indirect signals to set locations. You know, just and what's going on through settings and travel communications. Right. It's all mechanism line calculation setting. It's really understand how to service your set location your systems. But now we're in ground lines. So earth communications, air, water, and fire in line calculation setting is now at 144. Equals lines at 144. Equal lines at 144. And equals lines at 144. Okay. Your connection to your space academy is at 144. Okay. Your earth planes location, this is the earth plane calculations at 144. And your astral planes is equals lines of communication setting at 144. And calculation high interference, soul planes is equals line communications at 144. And connection to your ethereal equals lines equinox. Same location calculation, high position location, compute system travel. It's all done. All done. It's all done. All right. It's knowing how to really bit position. So we split the triangulation line settings and panels. 1 indicated, 2 panels communication settings. Okay. Now, directing the lines of communication centers of travel calculation line center interference is 0 gravity, 0 operation, zero surface, and zero line rotation segmentation of setting. Okay. 4 mechanism power lines, direct lines, communication centers. Okay. Know exactly how this is all done. All right. So triangulation line position, zero calculation center position to setting. Okay. So we surface this line, face records of time. Point line connect. Okay. Now, this comes into 1 over set location of face records of time. All right. Very, very powerful in all formula line connections. All right. Balanced position locations. All right. Done by equation. All right. We're all done. That's it. It's all done. Okay. So obviously, again, you're going to have to watch this, right? Because there's a lot of interference and there's people coming and going, The team sound like energized centers. But I'm just showing you what you guys are coming into in allocations. How you put everything back in provision into all calculations, in all track line conditions. How you turn everything through all calculation settings of formula equation lines at 144. A frequency. This is what you do with the frequencies. Once you get the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres into 3 triangulation and reset position programs. Once you get the 4 line generations, it's the earth, the air, the water, and the fire, and calculation of your settings. Okay, knowing exactly how to use it through provision is understanding your connection to your systems. Unification line center locations is all levels of you. Now this is colossal interference. Colossal interference is a calculated setting. That's where you take the cluster communication setting to travel. Directing lines of communication setting puts all levels of light signatures, like probe locations. How you come into your transistors? Transformer settings to your receivers. The transponders and position to its operation locations is coming back to zero traction. Now that zero track line calculation moon, it changes the coloration line settings. So you have to really understand how to set up the mechanism to solar panels, solar mixtures, and direct signal to all position locations of travel and all set locations. Okay? How does everybody feel? It's loopy, right? But that's it through equation. Okay, so it's all set up. Okay, your moon is in calculation streams. It's direct signal location of panels. It's going faster through its anomalies, but now it's going nanoseconds. Now there's computer and line rotation setting to the species line, back into correlation. Directing lines and communication lines. So it takes out of the wide line centers line connect high interference and theta communication diffusers. Directing lines communications over box. Then the triangulation reposition of its program is all positioned to its operation surface. So it's really understand how to use the point centers and tractions, right? So it's like paint by number, but you're going back to chronological order of its design. Okay, to understand that is to put all number positions of fragmentation screen setting into its panels. Each one has to be in a position of tractions. The modification line screen, see that? See that? See that light? Everything is a reflector of light. See, that's communication. See? Communication to my watch, right? Right? Coming from the sun, right? If we're really close, you can see the set lines. Now, it sets position location as ceiling line screens, but it has a direct panel and position of travel calculations. Back in time sequence. Right? It's very powerful when you get a reflector line connection, streaming interference, watch calculation, streaming interference, and calculation programs. Direct lines of communication in the setting. Okay. How to modify all calculations of lights and travel in set locations. Okay. So everything through Earth, the airs and waters and fires and set lines into your spring, summer, winter, falls, now 140. Space Academy, 144. It's all track line condition side centers. So we get a balanced signal now. Back in revisions, back in cycles. All right. But back in time puts a high calculation line stream. This puts more lines of communications into your communications of travel into consciousness locations. Right. This balances out the equilibrium, okay, of the subtraining line screen. Okay, because you're working with the conscious. Okay. So once you get out of the conscious line settings, you come into the subsurface, and then you get the subterranean, and then you get into high calculations levels of supraconsciousness. The balanced communication line stream, indirect signals, your moon has to be in a certain line of communication of travel. Okay, the mechanism high force line setting, right? And this is where we come to high calculations. How to modify your centers in travel communications. Okay. No, remember, it's not what I said, it's how I say it through vibration. So your moon is line connecting to its point centers of travel in all direct signal. Can't see it, can you? Until you see it. I like to show you exactly what you're up against. That's all it is. Getting balanced with this. General, I can't see anything. Sir, why can I see this? Because you're not ready to see the frequency. Because you're not at that vibration. That's all this is, nothing else. Until you understand what that means, you're never going to see your set location, your settings of travel through light. Until you understand the modifiers and communication settings of travel, which is the navigation system in set locations, slowing down your space, and then you see it in traction. Okay, that's exactly what it is, and that's what you're up against. 3 signature streams of setting. Okay, point track lines and 3 ground lines in position of pi. Okay, so getting signals and line communications, higher levels of travel, higher levels of mechanism, higher levels of power, in position of wormholes and track lines. This is carrying line communications, a high position. Okay. So get a bit of understanding there. See? So you have to see it on all angles, not just see from this, but you got to see it when you turn it around. You can see it, what it's doing, right? It's traveling, right? Very, very fast. And so all point centers, taking out the diamond lines, taking out your theta interference lines of box location setting, and 3 track lines now in direct signal location system. Okay. See the box? All right. So your position line settings, all track lines, no more 3, 6, 9 position locations. Your travel calculation foundation graph lines, you're out of box line rotation centers, and 4 lines of measure, and 5 elements of space now, traction. Okay, you have to really start identifying yourself through a video screen and set lines at 4 track location of lacing lines of communications. Now, directing line communication kind of coloration. Let's go through orange line centers, right? This is 1 position locations and travel. Okay. You got to see it real close, right? Okay. So lacing lines of communications. All right, that's 2 track line connections. Okay. All right. So you have to really understand your pixel screens. So let's go into blue lines. Okay. Oh, look at that. This is amazing. As soon as I add the blue line, the connection to the lacing line, orange line disappeared. See, it's not there anymore. See, it's traveling too fast. See, it's not there anymore. It disappeared, right? So the bounce communication was offsetting. Put it back in tractions is put it back in vision, the same coloration. You have to put it in the right position in travels in direct signal. Now you get 3 communications. Oh, it's not there again. Disappeared. Every time I do that, look at that. Look at it. It disappears. You won't be able to see it until you see it. See, now it's there, right? Magic. Okay, magic. All right, so center calculation lines. This is where you come into levels of formation ground settings and 0 communications, all right? Directing lines of communication lines, a high position of set lines. Okay. So understand the coloration is understanding the directions of where you're going through travel settings. So we go through purple screen, point line centers. Okay. Now this is the infinitum center lines of communication of 2 point centers. Okay. 1 directions to point line centers, 1 add-on line rotation center of travel, 2 point locations. Okay. See that? See, when you get in color, it changes the pattern communications, the directions, right? It's very powerful, isn't it? So we add the infinity 8 around the cycle, okay, in a 24 line screen, over and over and over and over until it recognizes space recognition of its moon, its program location of its Earth, its particle system, its astral projections, the astral travels, object connections. In the line position location is all levels, astral planes, calculations to soul planes, ethereal planes, and communication travel. Okay. Look at that. It's gone. That's what I mean. It's not there. So we draw it out, but it's not there. It disappeared, right? So it's all about understanding that how to see the color is how to see the light of travel. But you have to understand the frequency of where it is in position locations. Right? So for me to do it again, right, it will stay in signal because I'm commanding the system to its affinity 8 to stay in tractions. So I don't set emotional line interference in its program set location. Right? And again, you can't see it. It disappeared because it's going too fast. So you got to balance out your travel settings. Let's do it again. All right. Every time I draw it out, okay, it appears or it reappears. It all aligns its communication setting to travel calculations, point settings, right? There it is. Now you see it, right? Wasn't there before, right? Because you don't have balance with your set locations. You can't travel the emotional line connections. Or you'd be able to understand these things through your throw patterns. Your direct signal to your set location line system is modified. Now to understand how to use the transmitter and receivers in point centers of travel communications gets you into better line calculations, how to use your pixel frames, how to use your box centers, how to use your theta interference, how to use your foundations and your colorations of light. What are my eye lines? It's blue, right? Okay, so what is that line communication setting? Is it my throat? No, it could be my heart. So blue doesn't necessarily mean that it's the throat. You got to get out of the equation. You got to understand blue is equalized of everything to coloration of light, which is DOD. It's its own geometric operation, especially with the T line. Okay, so the track communication line interference, it could be signature streams of blue lines. It's all connected to high position. Now, this is coming from my heart. This is not coming from my throat. Even see it blue. It's not one color. It's all color. So in-line communication setting, you start with 3,000 lines of purple. Your sun has a calculation of all lines. It's provision cycles, calculation, high position, and coloration. Understanding the tone, understanding the modification, understanding your frequencies is understanding the communication of its power. Directing lines of communication setting to its affinity 8 track location. Okay, that's my equation. Yeah, I know. It's beyond phenomenal. And yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. All right, so we're on 50 minutes on track location of 30 seconds. 2 provision lines and 4 lines, thumbs up, and communications. All right. All right, let's see how it goes on Zoom set locations. Adios.